It started as a whisper in the dark, a quiet cruelty disguised as a joke. My wife, Samantha, had a way of cutting deep without raising her voice. That night, we were lying in bed, the soft hum of the ceiling fan filling the silence. I reached for her, the way I used to when things between us still felt alive. She didn't move, didn't even look at me, just muttered, "No hard-on again? Use your hand, James." I froze. For a second, I thought I'd misheard her. Then she turned away, pulling the blanket up like a barrier between us. The words sank in slowly, like poison spreading through a vein. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, realizing that something between us had quietly died long before that night. The next morning, she hummed while making coffee, acting as if nothing had happened. I watched her, the woman I had married 8 years ago, moving around the kitchen, scrolling through her phone, laughing at something she saw online. No apology, no guilt, just coldness. I left for work, but my mind wouldn't settle. I kept replaying her words, the tone, the indifference. I thought about all the nights I'd stayed late at the office just to keep us financially stable, the weekends I'd canceled plans to help her family, the times I bit my tongue to keep the peace. That night, she called me lazy because I didn't want to go to her friend's birthday party. "You're always tired, James. Always boring," she said. I smiled. But inside, something clicked. A quiet, clean break. The next day, I got up early, dressed, and walked to the living room where she was lounging on the couch with a blanket, watching TV. Her laptop sat open on the coffee table, bills half paid, messages unread. "You're not going to work?" I asked. She frowned. "It's Saturday." I nodded. "Right, but I'm thinking of making a change. Maybe I'll take some time off. Recharge a bit." She rolled her eyes. "Great, another excuse to sit around." I just smiled. "Well," I said calmly, "you told me last night to use my hand, so today you can use yours to pay the bills. No money from me this month." Her head snapped up. "What the hell does that mean?" "It means," I said, keeping my tone even, "no money. Go to work." Her face went pale, the kind of pale that comes when arrogance meets consequence. She thought I was bluffing. She thought I'd crawl back into the same quiet corner like always. But not this time. The silence that followed was almost peaceful. She stammered something about responsibilities, about partnership, about how marriage doesn't work that way. I laughed quietly. "Neither does respect," I said. Over the next few days, she tried everything. The cold shoulder, fake tears, sudden affection. But I didn't budge. I stopped transferring money to her account, stopped paying for her online shopping, stopped leaving cash on the counter for groceries. For the first time in years, she realized what I'd carried. The weight, the effort, the quiet endurance. By the end of the week, her attitude shifted from arrogance to confusion. She started asking subtle questions. "Are you okay? Is something wrong?" But I knew better. It wasn't concern. It was survival instinct. Because Samantha wasn't used to losing control. By the second week, she started cooking again. Not out of love, but out of guilt dressed as effort. Every gesture felt rehearsed. A warm smile here, a gentle question there. I watched it all quietly, not angry anymore, just detached. There was a strange freedom in her silence. I'd spent years trying to please a woman who measured love in conditions. How much I made, how quickly I answered her texts, how often I performed like she wanted. I realized she didn't want a partner. She wanted validation. One evening, she came into my office room holding a bill. "James, the mortgage payment is due," she said softly, like she was speaking to a stranger. I looked up from my laptop. "Then pay it." Her lips tightened. "You're being childish." I leaned back in my chair. "No, Samantha. I'm being treated the same way you treated me. You mocked what I couldn't give physically, so I'm simply mirroring that. You want something? Handle it yourself." She didn't reply. She just walked away, and for the first time, she didn't slam the door. Days passed. She started waking up earlier, calling recruiters, updating her resume, the same woman who used to laugh at my long work hours. One morning, I found her crying quietly in the kitchen. I didn't comfort her. Instead, I poured myself coffee and said, "You know, I used to feel exactly like that. Powerless." Then I walked away. That's when the guilt began to settle in her eyes. 2 weeks later, she handed me her first paycheck. "I got a job," she said, smiling nervously, like a child waiting for approval. I nodded. "Good. Independence looks good on you." It was strange watching her shift from entitlement to effort. Yet, deep inside, I couldn't shake the ache. The memory of the man I'd been, desperate for affection, mocked for being human. You don't recover from that overnight. A month went by. The house changed, quieter, cleaner, colder. She started asking if we could talk, if we could start over. But every apology felt late. Every, "I didn't mean it," came after the damage had already soaked through. One night, I found her waiting on the couch when I got home. The lights were low, and for a moment it looked like the early years again, before the bitterness, before the distance. "James," she said quietly, "I was wrong. About everything. I hurt you, and I see that now." I looked at her, really looked at her, the woman who had once been my entire world. "You know what's funny?" I said. "I used to think love was about giving until it hurt. But now I see. Sometimes love is knowing when to stop giving." Tears filled her eyes. She reached out, but I didn't move closer. Something inside me had already left. That night, I packed a small bag. Nothing dramatic, just the essentials. When she asked where I was going, I said simply, "Someplace where I don't have to earn basic respect." She broke down, begging, promising, swearing things would change. But apologies can't fix the sound of her voice from that night. "Use your hand. Some words carve themselves into your bones." I moved out 2 days later, rented a small apartment overlooking the city. For the first time in years, I woke up without tension in my chest. I made breakfast, went for runs, started sleeping peacefully again. Freedom didn't feel like revenge. It felt like balance restored. Months passed. Every now and then, she'd text long messages filled with regret. I'd read them, then delete them. I didn't hate her. I just didn't recognize her anymore. In the end, Samantha learned what I had known all along. Love without respect is just dependency dressed in emotion. And once a man learns peace, he never trades it back for chaos. Not even for the person he once loved.